My name is Jeff Greenwood. I'm the Education Director here at White Memorial, and I'm holding an irreplaceable mounted specimen. Well, some of you might look at that and say, oh come on, it's a mourning dove. But actually, this is an extinct bird, the passenger pigeon. Passenger pigeon has kind of an interesting and yet sad story. It was a bird that was very numerous in this country and in North America as a whole, east of the Rocky Mountains, for hundreds of years, perhaps thousands of years. And they existed in huge flocks. They were colonial nesters and breeders. And there was security in numbers. There's some data that's written in the literature that this bird migrated in flocks that were a mile wide and 300 miles long, taking hours to pass overhead. It must have been a phenomenal sight. And yet today, there isn't one on the earth. So what happened? The passenger pigeon that existed in billions, probably, billions of passenger pigeons in eastern North America was exploited as a food heavily in the 1800s. And by the end of the 1800s, the turn of the century, the flocks were getting to be very small. So small, in fact, that they couldn't function as a colonial bird. The whole pattern broke down and they couldn't survive. There was security in numbers. When flocks would establish a nesting area, it would be on hundreds of acres of land, of forest land. And the predators that were around at that time made no dent in that enormous population. But they were slaughtered. Sometimes 50,000 a day were taken. They were easy targets because they were colonial. They gathered in flocks that were easily taken down, and eventually the numbers diminished. While commercialization and exploitation of the passenger pigeon for food was a dominant reason for its extinction, it turns out that habitat loss was also involved. This was a bird that nested in the forest, and in this country, in the late 1800s, forest land was diminishing because the environment was being cleared for the presence of agriculture. So this bird really had several problems, and being exploited as a food substance and losing habitat just led to its demise. It's kind of sad to see a beautiful picture of this sort with the caption that reads, "The only living specimen of passenger pigeon in existence in captivity in the Cincinnati Zoo, 1912. Food for thought that we can have such an impact on the plants and animals that share this planet with us. We should work so that other species don't end up becoming extinct as the passenger pigeon.
And the reeds, like rainbows, they landed soft as moonglow. In greens and reds, they fluttered past the windows. Ah, but nobody cared or saw. Came in crowds with their guns and dozers, and soon the peace was over. God, what were they thinking of? Oh, on and on till dreams come true. All goes with you. Oh, the birds went down, they fell and they faded to the dozen, till in the Cincinnati Zoo was the last one. Yes, all that remained was the last with the name of Martha. Very proud, very sad, but very wise. And no lives far by. There were few who cared or could be bothered. How could anyone have treated you harder? And it was all for $1 or more. On and on till dreams come true. You know a piece of us all goes with you. Oh, and surrounded there by some of whom wept around her. In a corner of the cage, they found her. She went as soft as she came, so shy till the last song. Oh, the passenger pigeon was gone.